Okay, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
عليكم السلام ورحمة
Bismillah, alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalam ala sayyidil mursaleen, nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Okay, everybody, mashallah, we're on day 6 of Ramadan, alhamdulillah. So today we're going to go through 2 ayat because they are shorter than some of the other ayat, inshallah. Okay, find my page. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Okay, Allah said, وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Actually, we should just go back over the ayah before, inshallah, just to help us get a clearer idea of what we're doing. Okay, Allah said in this ayah, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا السَّمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا, that we have adorned the sky of the dunya, بِمَصَابِيحِ, with lamps, okay, something that gives light in the when it is dark. وَجَعَلْنَاهَا رُجُومًا لِلشَّيَاطِينِ, and we have made them as missiles for the shayateen. وَأَعْتَدْنَا لَهُمْ عَذَابَ السَّعِيرِ, and we have prepared for them blazing and burning punishment. And it is this punishment that Allah extends on in the next 2 ayat. Now, there were a couple of questions from yesterday, so I'll probably go through those first, actually, inshallah. I'm sorry I'm not able to answer questions in the class because I'm not actually aware of the questions, but I'm happy to answer them if I'm able to the next day. Okay, so somebody asked that, does it mean that the missiles being referred to here, that we humans cannot see them? No, because in some of the ulama of tafsir, they do say that the shooting stars that you will see in the sky are these rujum, these missiles that are thrown and launched at the shayateen. So they can be visible by the humans. And meteors and stuff, they are visible to humans, not all the time, and not by everybody, but they are seen. Somebody else asked, how do we get purified in the barzakh and in the akhirah? The way to purify, if you have bad deeds, okay, and you need to be pure in order to enter Jannah, okay, you can become purified through the forgiveness of Allah, okay, through the mercy of Allah, that He will forgive you. And this is a way of becoming purified. But another way that we are purified, okay, especially if we don't seek that forgiveness, is through trials in the dunya or in the barzakh or in the akhirah. Because the Prophet ﷺ said even the prick of a thorn, okay, is expiation for the believer. So any difficulty that you will go through in the dunya can be a form of expiation for you, tahur. And then at the time of death, the pangs of death even are expiation for us. And then in the barzakh, in the grave, if there's any suffering in the grave, Allah protect us from that, then this is a form of purification for us as well. For the believer, remember the disbelievers will not enter Jannah, okay, as a general rule, and we will touch on this today. And in the akhirah, again, there is suffering that will happen on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yawm al-Qiyamah will feel very long for some people, and for some people it will feel very short. And this is expiation and purification for those whose destination will be Jannah, but they need to be pure in order to enter it. Even when we have crossed the bridge, the Sirat, which leads to, which goes over the hellfire, and at the end there is the doors of Jannah. But we will still not be able to enter Jannah until we have sorted out our affairs with the other believers. If there are problems that we have had with the other believers, we will have to sort out those affairs before we enter Jannah, because once we enter Jannah, there is only goodness. But all of this we have to be purified of all of these things before we enter into Jannah. And we know that Surah Mulk, which we covered in the first session, is a protection from the punishment of the grave, of the punishment in the barzakh. And inshallah, that is because as we study the ayat and we try to implement what we learn and we gain closeness to Allah through it, there is purification in that as well. So I hope that's clear, inshallah. And we will move on to the next ayah. So Allah mentioned adhab as-sa'ir, okay, the blazing punishment. And he goes on to talk more about punishment. And as we see that, there is a pattern in the Quran that when Allah mentions punishment, then it's coming that he will mention then the reward, okay, and his mercy. Or if he mentions his reward and his mercy, then it's coming that he will also mention the punishment that comes along with that because of his justice. And this is because the Muslim, the mu'min, should have hope and fear. We hope in his reward and in his mercy, but we fear his punishment. And it's these two things that will keep us, inshallah, trying to do the correct thing and trying to stay away from what we should and try to increase in our ibadah and in our obedience of Allah. So Allah said, وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Okay, wa and, which we know, لِلَّذِينَ. Okay, so this is two words here. Li, which we have done before, for, this li here, and for الَّذِينَ. الَّذِينَ is those who. Okay, we saw in the previous ayat, الَّذِي, when it was referring to Allah, and this was just one. It's the singular, and this is الَّذِينَ, which is those who. When it's الَّذِي, it's the one who. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. Okay, for those who disbelieve. Okay, and this is a fi'l al-madi, it's the past tense verb, and it comes from كَفَرَ يَكْفُرُ. Okay, كَفَرَ يَكْفُرُ, and it means to disbelieve, to reject, to deny, and we will go through more meanings of this. And words that stem from this would be kufr, which is disbelief, kuffar, which are the disbelievers, or kafir, which is the disbeliever. Okay, and what do they disbelieve in? وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who disbelieve in what? In. Okay, what do they disbelieve in? بِرَبِّهِمْ. There are three words here, okay? Bi, Rab, and him, or whom, okay? We mentioned yesterday, or maybe a couple of days ago, that the bi is a preposition, okay? It's a harf, and it will make the next word, Rab, which on its own would be Rabbu, okay? Or Rabbun, which is with a dhamma. It's changed to kasra here because of the bi. Bi Rabbi, and then we have hum, which has again changed to him because it's harder to say bi Rabbihum. For the ease of the language, it's changed to bi Rabbihim. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. For those who disbelieve in what? بِرَبِّهِمْ, in their Lord. Okay? For those people, Allah is saying, for those people. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. For the ones who disbelieve in their Lord. Okay? And this is acknowledging that Allah is the Lord of all of the creation. Whether you believe in Him or not, whether you reject Him or not, whether you deny Him or not, He is still the Lord of all of the creation. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ عَذَابُ. Okay, عذاب is punishment. And I think it's a similar word in some of the, Pakistan and India, the languages that come from there. Adhab is a similar meaning. For those who disbelieve in their Lord is a punishment. The punishment. Okay? The punishment of Jahannam. Jahannam, and this is a word that we know. Okay, it's the fire of Jahannam. Excuse my spelling. Something. وَلِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ. And for those who disbelieve in their Lord is the fire, is the punishment of Jahannam. When you have this, where you have something of something, okay, when something is belonging to something or possessed by something, usually the second word will always have a kasra. But Jahannam cannot take a kasra. Okay, it can't take kasra, but it is, this is a idafa construction. The second word is the mudaf ilay, and it would take kasra, but Jahannam cannot. Jahannam comes from Jahuma, which means to frown, okay, or to scowl. And this is because the people who will be entering Jannah will be smiling. The people who will be entering Jahannam will not. And Allah make us from those of the people of Jannah, the Ahlul Jannah. So the punishment of Jahannam is for the people who disbelieve in their Lord. Okay? الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. And then Allah said, wa, again, so and, وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. Bi'sa is, wretched or bad. Okay? It's all negative words. Wretched, bad, evil. The opposite of bi'sa is ni'ma. Not ni'ma as in a favor, okay, but without the ta at the end. وَبِئْسَ الْمَصِيرُ. How wretched is al-masir, is the ending, okay, or the destination. The destination. How evil is the destination, okay, the place where they will end up, their abode. And we ask Allah for protection from the fire of Jahannam, punishment of the fire. Just like He will punish the shayateen in the previous ayah we mentioned, just like He will punish the shayateen, He will punish all those who disbelieve. And His punishment is from His justice. Al-Baghawi, he didn't give a tafsir of this ayah. He said that it was very clear in its meaning, which we can see here. Ibn Kathir, he said that this first wow, okay, and refers back to, if we see in the previous ayah, Allah said, وَأَعْتَدْنَا, okay, and we prepared for them. And we also, and for those who disbelieve in their Lord, there is the fire of the punishment of Jahannam. So Jahannam here is explained by Ibn Kathir a little bit. Okay, he said that there are 7 gates. 7 gates, and for every gate, groups are divided and they are allocated their gate. And there has been prescribed from every doer that follows Iblis, okay, that they will enter Jahannam. The followers of Iblis will enter, and there is no way for them to escape. This is their final destination, al-masir, and there is no way for them to escape. And each person will enter based on their actions. Allah will not enter anyone into Jannah if they have not earned it. Shu'bah, okay, he said, I heard Ali ibn Abi Talib in his khutbah, he said, the gates of the hellfire are like this, layers and layers on top of each other, 7 on top of each other. When the first gets full, then the second gets full, then the third, until it is all full. So the 7 gates means the 7 layers, according to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ibn Abbas, he gave some names of the layers of Jahannam, and we will go through them in a little bit more detail, but I will just mention the names here. So he said the first is Jahannam. Okay, the first layer is called Jahannam. The second is called Lawa, which we will mention the ayah that it is mentioned in towards the end. The third is Hutama, okay, which is both of these are from the surahs in Juz Amma. They may be familiar to you. The fourth is Sa'ir, which we did in the previous ayah. The fifth is the Saqar. The sixth is Jahim, which comes a lot in the Quran. And the seventh is Hawiya. These are names for the layers of Jahannam, according to Ibn Abbas, radiallahu anh. Qatada, he said about the 7 gates, he said every gate has a group proportioned for it. So he said there is a gate for the Jews, the gate for the Christians, gates for the fire worshippers, those who committed shirk, the munafiqeen, and then there is the gate for the people of Tawheed, okay? But for those people, the people of Tawheed, even if they enter into that gate, Allah protect us from that, there is hope for them to come out. But there is not hope for the others. There are different levels of punishment. Okay, we know that from the narration about Abu Talib, okay, that there is a fire that will come up to the ankles. And this is the least of punishments in the fire. And this, just this will cause the brains to boil. Then there is the punishment, the fire that will come up to the waist. And then there is the punishment of the fire that will go up to the neck. Okay, and they are punished according to their deeds. Now, somebody might say, if somebody lives 60 years on the earth, or 30 years on the earth, or even 100 years on the earth, why then are they punished forever? خالدين فيها. Why are they punished forever and ever for eternity in the fire of Jahannam when they only lived 100 years here? Shouldn't it be that they should only be punished for 100 years? But the ulama, they respond to this and they say that the correct answer is that from Allah's justice, He's released them from the dunya early. But had they continued to live on the dunya forever, they would have continued on that same path. And He knows this, we don't know. This is from Allah's knowledge. And because He knows they would have continued on that path forever, their punishment is forever. Okay, and we ask Allah to protect us even from the leastest of punishments in the fire. Sa'di, he didn't say anything in the tafsir of this ayah. He said the ayah is clear. Okay, so I will just go through the layers of Jahannam. Okay, I found it very interesting. So the first layer I said is Jahannam. Okay, and this is mentioned a lot in the Quran. You will never see Jahannam with al. Okay, you will never have this lam al-ta'rif, which means the in front of it or specifying it. And it is not feminine like the other words for fire. Then there is lawa. Okay, and Allah mentions this in Surah Al-Layl. I'll read you the ayat so that you can hear it. So Allah said in Surah Al-Layl, He said, if I read the ayah before it, وَإِنَّ لَنَا لَلْآخِرَةَ وَالْأُولَى. Okay, and indeed to us belongs the akhirah and the first life. Okay, so the dunya and the akhirah both belong to Allah. And Allah said, فَأَنذَرْتُكُمْ نَارًا تَلَظَّى. And I have warned you of a fire which is blazing. So this lava is a fire that is blazing and it burns with intensity. And Allah said, لَا يَصْلَاهَا إِلَّا الْأَشْقَى. None will enter this lava except the most wretched of them. And then Allah said about them again, الَّذِي كَذَّبَ وَتَوَلَّى. The one who denied and he turned away. Okay, and then Allah said, وَسَيُجَنَّبُهَا الْأَتْقَى. The one who has taqwa, okay, he will avoid this. So the lava we can see is mentioned twice for those. So it's mentioned here and it's mentioned in another place in the Quran, and it's mentioned for those who turned away. They rejected and they turned away, and this was specifically why they were punishment with lava. And lava is burning, but with a intensity. Then we have Allah mentioned in Surah Al-Humazah, okay, is the hutama. And it's mentioned twice in this surah. Allah said in the Quran, if I read you the meaning, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Woe to every scorner and mocker, anybody who mocks the religion, الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَهُ, and who collects his wealth and he's continuously counting it and hoarding it. يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَهُ. He thinks that his wealth will make him, it's his wealth that will save him. كَلَّا لَيُنبَذَنَّ فِي الْحُطَمَةِ. But no, he will surely be thrown into the hutama. وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا الْحُطَمَةِ. And Allah is saying, what can make you know what is this hutama? And it's translated as something that is, it will break and it will crush. And it's similar to the fire of this life, i.e., if there is a fire in the woods, you will hear the breaking and the cracking of the woods and the leaves, and it destroys everything within it. And this is what the hutama does. It crushes and it breaks, and it is a fire that is kindled and it will reach over the chests. And we ask Allah for protection from that. And Allah gave the reasons in the surah. Allah continues to say, Narullahil muqada. Okay, it is the fire of Allah which is fueled, allati tattali'u 'ala al-afida. Okay, which mounts directed at the hearts. And this is where it was go over the chests. إِنَّهَا عَلَيْهِمْ مُؤْصَدَةٌ. Indeed, it will close around them. Subhanallah. So this is the third name, Al-Hutama, which is a name of the fire of Jahannam as well, one of the layers of the fire. Then we had Sa'ir, which we mentioned in the previous ayah, which is a blazing and burning fire that is kindled. And later, when we get to ayah 11, it mentions this again, and there will be more tafsir on it, but it's for those who refuse to listen when the truth comes to them. So when we look at that ayah, we will see that it's those people who, when the truth comes to them, they refuse to listen. And this is why they will be punished with Sa'ir. Then the fifth one, okay, which is mentioned in Surah Al-Muddathir, which is the Saqar. And I would like to read you the ayat because it's, there's a lot to think about. So Allah said in Surah Al-Muddathir, He mentions it first in ayah 26, where He said, "Sa'uslihi saqar." Okay, and I will drive him into the saqar. وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا سَقَرْ. Yeah, and what will make you know what is this saqar? And then Allah said, لَا تُبْقِي وَلَا تَذَرْ. Okay, it lets nothing remain and it leaves nothing unburnt. And then Allah said, لَوَّاحَةٌ لِلْبَشَرِ. Okay, and it blackens the skin. It will completely burn the skin and make it black. And then Allah said, عَلَيْهَا تِسْعَةَ عَشَرٍ. Over it are 19 angels. But then if you look at further down in the surah, okay, in ayah 40, there will be the people who are in Jannah, okay, and they are talking about the people of the Saqar. Okay, and they will be questioning each other about them. And they will ask them, okay, they will say, مَا سَلَكَكُمْ فِي سَقَرٍ. So they ask them, what put you into this Saqar? What was the reason why you were thrown into the Saqar? Okay, which is a fire that will leave nothing unburnt. And the first thing they said is, قَالُوا, they said, لَمْ نَكُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. We were not from those who prayed. We were not from those who established the salah. And this was the first reason why they were thrown into the saqar. Another one is وَلَمْ نَكُ نُطْعِمُ الْمِسْكِينَ. And we were not the ones who fed the poor and gave to the poor. We didn't used to feed the poor. And if you continue reading the surah, you'll see that there are some other reasons given there. So this is the saqar is for the people who did not pray. They did not feed the poor, and they would have, they would talk loosely. They wouldn't be careful with what they would say. So they would be rejected on the Day of Judgment. And we can see that, salah is mentioned here, which shows the importance and the status of, how important it is to make sure that our 5 daily salawat are prayed at the right times, in the correct manner, meeting all of the conditions, all of the pillars and all of the obligations, and we are not careless regarding them. Okay. The sixth one is the Jahim, which is mentioned a lot in the Quran, and it's a large pit of fire, but you can't pin it to any specific group. Okay, it's just it's used a lot for a lot of the different types of punishment. And the last one is the Hawiyah, which is in Surah Al-Qari'ah, where Allah said regarding the people who had, their scales were light, their scale of good deeds. Yeah, وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ. As for the one whose scales are light, فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ. Then his refuge or his place, his home will be the Hawiyah. وَمَا أَدَرَاكَ مَا هِيَ. Yeah, and what can make you know what this is, this Hawiyah? Allah said, نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ, which is a fire that is intensely and blazing hot with extremely hot temperatures. Okay, the Prophet ﷺ described the fire of the Akhirah to be 70 times hotter than the hottest fire in the dunya. We ask Allah to save us from the hellfire and not allow it to even touch us. SubhanAllah. If we go on to the next ayah, okay, which is a continuation, where Allah said, إِذَا أُلْقُوا, إِذَا, okay, it is when. Okay, so we have here when. أُلْقُوا. So أُلْقُوا is a past tense verb, okay, but it's a verb that is, we don't know who is doing the verb, okay, because of the way that it is written. So it comes from laqiya, yalqa, which means to meet or to encounter, okay, something or someone. And then if you add in the hamza at the beginning, it turns into something that is thrown, because when you throw something, you force it to meet something else, okay? And when it's used in this passive voice, which is what it is here, the majhul, then it means that something was thrown, but it's not clear who did the throwing. Okay, so إِذَا أُلْقُوا, and it's in the plural, and you can see that because of the waw and the alif here, when they were thrown, when they were thrown. So it's not written who did the throwing. إِذَا أُلْقُوا, when they were thrown, فِيهَا, fi is a harf or preposition, and it means into, okay? وَإِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا, into it, i.e. the nar, okay, the fire, which is feminine. Into it, I'll just put in brackets here, fire. إِذَا أُلْقُوا فِيهَا سَمِعُوا, okay, they hear or they heard, yeah, they hear. سَمِعَ, يَسْمَعُ is to hear. That's why we have as-sami' when we refer to Allah as the one who is all hearing. Okay, it comes from the same root. Sami'a, when they hear. Sami'u, they hear. They hear laha. So this ha again is referring to it, the fire, like here. When they hear from it. Okay, when they hear from it. When they hear from it. And what do they hear? They hear shahiqa. Fathatain here. Shahiqan. Okay, so this is the object of what is being heard. So they hear from it shahiqa. And this is the ulama of tafsir, they describe it as, when you have the braying of a donkey. So you have the X. So what donkeys do is they exhale and then they inhale. And you will usually, in the English, you will see it written as E or, but it's actually a very, it's not a very nice sound. Okay, the first sound is louder and it comes from the throat. And the second sound, it comes from the, it's the inhaling that happens, okay, from the chest. In the dunya, this happens. In the akhirah, we don't know its reality, but this is how it's being described, okay, as the inhaling of like the braying of a donkey. Wa, and wahiya tafur, and it, okay, i.e. The nar, wahiya tafur. And it goes back to the nar, okay, and it is boiling. It is boiling, okay, boiling with rage. That's how it's been described, this word. Boiling with rage, okay, with anger, with rage. So Al-Baghawi, he said, when they are tossed, okay, and why are they thrown into the fire? Okay, the reason why they are thrown, ulqu, is because nobody would go there willingly. Okay, and we have the difference when the people will be told to enter Jannah. Okay, the doors will open slowly, and they will be welcoming to those who are going to enter. And then they will approach Jannah, and Jannah will come closer to them, and they will get closer to Jannah, and they will enter in that way. The people of Jahannam, they will be thrown because they don't want to, enter into it. Nobody would go there willingly. Al-Baghawi, he said that this sound, shahiqa, is the most disgusting and repulsive of all sounds. This inhaling and exhaling of a donkey. Mujahid, he said that this tafur, which means to boil with rage, is when if you have a large pot. Okay, he said if you have a large pot of water that is boiling, and then you have a small amount of grain in it, and you will see that the grain is bounced up and down and everywhere because of the amount of water in it. In the same way, it will be boiling, and the people who are the fuel of the fire will be, not in control of themselves. Ibn Kathir, he said that this sound is the sound of screaming. Okay, and Mujahid, he said the same thing. Sa'di, he said they are thrown in because they are disgraced. Ulqu fiha, because they are disgraced and they are humiliated. And the shahiqa, he said, is a terrible loud sound that will come from the hellfire. And he said that it is not, it will not be lightened. This is Shanqiti. He said that the fire will not be lightened, they will not be given rest, and there will be no delay in the punishment. When they see the fire and the fire sees them, then it almost breaks apart and turns out because of anger at them. So the hellfire will see the person who will be entering from a faraway place, and then they, the hellfire itself, which is a creation of Allah, will get angry, and there will be a loud sound like the donkey. The hellfire also, as the more and more disbelievers that it sees, its hatred and its anger will intensify. Okay, because of this, لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ, because of their disbelief in their Lord. Yeah, because of the disbelief in their Lord, the hellfire will get angry and will rage, and it will be boiling in rage because of the fact that they disbelieved in their Rabb. And the hellfire, we know that the hellfire will speak. From a narration, the hellfire will ask, is there any more? Is there any more? And Allah will ask, are you not yet full? Okay, and the hellfire will ask for more and more and more. So we have to, upon us is to ask Allah for mercy, okay, and safety from the hellfire. There, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, whoever seeks protection from the hellfire 3 times, then the hellfire itself supplicates to Allah, begging Allah not to allow that person to enter it. Subhanallah. 3 times. So we ask Allah for protection from the hellfire. We ask Him for protection from the hellfire. We ask Him for protection from the hellfire. I wanted to quickly touch on something, okay? Due to the shortness of the time, I've already gone over. Okay, alhamdulillah. I wanted to quickly go through what is when we say alladhina kafaru bi rabbihim, and I'll be very quick, inshallah. Okay, so regarding disbelieving in their Lord, what is it that is defined as kafaru bi rabbihim? And this we need to be aware of, okay? Because in order to stay away from something, we need to know what that thing is. Just like in order to know what is hot, you need to know what is cold. You need to know the opposite, otherwise your understanding of hot is not complete. In the same way, your understanding of belief, in order for your understanding of belief to be good and strong, you have to know what is disbelief. Okay, and in order to protect ourselves from this punishment, we need to know what disbelief is. Okay, so disbelief in the language, it means to cover or to conceal something. But in the Sharia, it means not believing in Allah and His Messenger, whether that is because of denial, or if it is because of doubt, or if it is because of turning away, yeah, or because of jealousy or arrogance, whatever the reason is, okay, or if it's because of following your desires, whatever it is that prevents someone from following the message, okay, or the messenger. So kufr is an attribute of anyone who rejects something that Allah commanded us to believe in, okay, after that news has reached them. Obviously, if somebody hasn't received the news, hasn't received the information or hasn't clearly received the information, they would not be seen as someone who rejects. Okay, so if he rejects it either in his heart, okay, without saying anything, or if he utters it with his mouth, okay, words of rejection, whether he rejects in his heart or he utters it, this is major kufr and it will take you out of Islam. Now, when I say it takes you out of Islam, this doesn't mean that we can go to someone and say that they are out of the fold of Islam. We can learn the general ruling, okay, but we cannot apply that general ruling to somebody specific. So if somebody did say something out of turn, or they did express some doubt or some sort of rejection, it's not from, it's not okay for us to then say that, they are a disbeliever. This is for the ulama only when certain conditions are met. So there is the denial of, there is a major kufr is something that will take you out of the fold of Islam. And this is denial or rejection, okay, which is disbelief in the heart or concealing the truth and not submitting to it outwardly, even if they, inwardly they know it's the truth, but they will not submit outwardly. Just like the Jews, they knew that the message of Islam came from Allah because they had the description of the Prophet that was to come in their Torah. This is the reason why the Jews even moved to Medina, because they knew that the last Prophet was going to come from there. And they, from that area, and they still rejected and they didn't submit. And this was kufr for them. And this is because rejection only happens when somebody knows the truth and then they refuse it. Then there is the kufr of when you say something is halal when something is actually haram, okay, or the other way around. If you consider something permissible, okay, which you know that Islam has forbidden, okay, so it's okay for me to not pray. Yeah, Allah will forgive me. It's fine for me to not pray. I don't need to pray or I don't need to fast. These, if you make something halal that Allah has made haram, then you have disbelieved. It's the same if you forbid something, okay, which you know is permitted. Then there is the kufr of turning away because of arrogance, like Iblis. Because of his arrogance and his hatred, he turned away and he rejected the obedience of Allah. Then there is the kufr of hypocrisy, where you don't believe something in your heart, but outwardly you are submitting to that thing. Yeah, either to show off or to gain some security, or whatever the reason may be, but your heart does not match your actions. Then there is the kufr of doubt, which means hesitating with regards to following the truth and being uncertain as to whether it is true, because what is required is certainty. When we have iman, one of the things that is required is to have this certainty, this yaqeen. Okay, this is an attribute, this characteristic of the people of belief. So we can see that kufr, okay, which is the opposite of iman or faith, just like iman is something that is believed in the heart, it is manifested through the statements of the tongue and through the actions of the limbs. In the same way, kufr is something that is in the heart, okay, something that is uttered and something that is manifested through the limbs as well. I think I will. So that was just a quick summary of what it means to, when Allah says, "Alladhina kafaru." These are the different ways in which you can be entered, and Allah protect us from this, into the category of Alladhina kafaru bi rabbihim. And we ask Allah to keep us safe from kufr and all of its branches, okay, and to increase us in iman and make us guided and cause us to be to guide others. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت استغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.